So I'm going to give a talk on low-cost solutions for array tomography microtome manipulators. My name is Michael Moore. I'm from Delaware State University. I'm the imaging facility manager of our small but yet very capable facility in the Oscar Imaging building. Just to give you a brief overview of what we have to offer in our facility, we are a fee-for-usage facility, so we do charge for researchers and external users, industry users. We have an FEI Quanta 250 FEG system. I have EDS, EBDS. I have eSEM. I have a STEM detector. So I pretty much have it fully loaded. It's a very, very good system, very robust. Also have a Bruker Nano IR AFM. So it's an IR2S system. We just installed a Crest Optics spinning disc confocal with FRAP capabilities. We also have a point scanning 780 from Zeiss. And then in the very near future, in about a month or so, we'll have a Hariba Explorer Raman confocal. And I think by the end of this month, we'll also have the Deep Sim super resolution from Crest Optics installed. So the rationale for making the manipulators, we needed to have an easy way to collect ribbons, low-cost solution, universal, and easy to mount on or near a microtome. I will have to say that this is not the lowest cost solution, since I saw a paperclip used today. That must be probably the lowest cost solution you can imagine. But this method can work quite well. So the inspiration for this, and I don't know if anyone has seen these in the field, the Ash 1 from RMC to the left here. This is pretty much designed from off-the-shelf parts. You can design these yourself if you just go to any laboratory supply house that sells translators or manipulators, and you kind of just piece these pieces together. Thorlab sells translators, WPI, and that's pretty much what was done with RMC. They put together this system, and then they had some custom machined parts, and they were charging a very large price for this. So this was kind of the inspiration to development of the system that I made. So under development, I developed this when I was at the University of Delaware. In the very first version, this was made for a Reichert UltraCut E microtome. And Shannon Modla, Kirk Zemek, we worked on developing this very simple, directly mount on to the microtome and using basically a microscope translator. So this is a stage translator. You can purchase these on eBay. There's a lot of old ones that are out there that work quite well. I believe this was a Leica one, possibly it could have been a Zeiss from an older microscope. Version 2 was designed when I was collaborating a little bit with Zeiss on developing a manipulator so that they could eventually sell to customers, and this was to be coupled with their shuttle and find system. So this particular manipulator is quite an easy design. This top rail, and I'll show you more pictures of this, but these side rails and then this support rail, and then the top rail is what holds your translator. And basically this attaches to the Leica front armrest rail. So if you have a Leica table, there's usually a T-slot track that runs the front of this table, and you can install these yourselves. You can just go on you can go online and look for the company 8020, or you can look for T-slotted aluminum extrusions and purchase this railing, have it attached to the front of an optical table, and then you can have it go directly in with some T-nuts, and then you can slide it, move it to wherever you need. And this here is the actual translator. And then there's a device that was machined to hold forceps. So the final version is designed mostly around the UC6 and UC7 microtomes. So as you can see, it's connected to the front of the table here. These are the side supports. And then this is basically just a modified microscope stage translator that holds in the forceps, which goes down into the jumbo knife. This has all of the adjustments that the RMC system would have. So you have a Z adjustment up and down. You have side adjustments, X and Y. You can even tilt up and down to adjust the angle for the cover slip. So this is what I call the universal manipulator head. So it's basically just an aluminum machine support, has the stage translator added to it, and then a holder. So I'll show you these in more detail. So these stage translators, if you're familiar with these, you probably have seen these before. These are just basic stage translators that you can purchase. You can still purchase these, but I prefer the older styles that come off of either the older Wolf Education microscopes, some of the Zeiss microscopes, older microscopes, because they're made much better than the newer ones. They're usually made out of all solid brass construction. They have solid brass rack and pinion. All the gears are either brass or steel. On the newer versions, you'll find that they're casted aluminum. They'll have plastic gearing. And while you can precisely put something where it is, the graduations on them are not very accurate on the newer ones. These on the older ones are just much more accurate, just a better made manipulator. So if you can find manipulators like this, they're usually not very expensive at all. And then you will have to modify it by adding some type of track system or some type of holder system in order to hold your forceps on the front. This is it mounted on the support system. And basically just turning any one of these dials. So turning this one here will move you in the X direction. And then moving here will move you into the Y direction. And it'll push your forceps further down into the boat or back out. And then you have a range of motion by this particular holder actually rotates up and down to hold your forceps. So I actually designed one for the RMC Powertome as well. If you're familiar with that microtome, there's some, I guess they're wrist rests or arm rests or something that go into the actual microtome. And if you take those off, there's two holes. This was designed to slide directly on top of that microtome, and then you could adjust up and down, side to side, however you need it to get your cover slip into the jumbo boat. This is a video of using that first version. Shannon Modlow was very courteous to make this for me to show how it works. Whoops, let me go back. Hold on one second. Back here. Here we go. So this is how you mount in the reverse action forceps. You can also put some type of wafer clamping device in here as well. So that's your tilt control. And then here's your translation from in and out, and then also the side to side movement. And then this here would be to adjust your height adjustment. And for most applications, once you have this set up for your microtome, you probably don't have to make these adjustments much other than just the adjustment of your tilt. So on these microtomes, they have this top cover, and we use the existing holes that are there that are threaded. The mounting of the manipulator goes straight on top, and then you just use a new set of bolts that are longer And they just go straight on through, down in, and then lock it in place. If you're using the front rail system, it's even more simple, because once you have it mounted on the front rail, you can loosen up the T-nuts and you just slide it out of the way. And then when you want to use it, you just slide it in front of the microtome, just a few turns of some thumb screws, and it's locked into place. So adding it on to this system is a little bit more complicated. Oops. Sorry about that. Problems with my video. It's weird. Now I can't get out of this. Hold on. Let me get to the very end. There we go. Okay. So I'd like to acknowledge Shannon Modler, University of Delaware bioimaging TM research scientist, for helping me out with this. Any questions on the design, or any comments?
Any question for Michael? I know Michael also does a side mount ones that similar to what Reza uses.
Yes, I do.
In his presentation. Michael, you think you can give us people an estimate comparing the pricing for these versus the how difficult to make it on your own?
So these really are not very difficult to make. If it's been a long time since I got a quote, I know that that Ash one, I don't think they make that anymore. I don't think it was very successful or sold very well. I'm not sure. I think they've moved on to the Ash 2, which is like it's a side mounted onto the boat, and I don't know how much that costs. But I know when I had gotten a quote for the Ash 1, it was upwards of like $12,000 to $15,000. And a manipulator like mine for a UC7 costs about $1,600. That's if you purchased it through me. But if you are savvy enough and you want to machine one yourself, it could be much cheaper than that if you want to put your own time and labor into it. So the manipulators can cost, the actual translators, those stage top translators, if you purchase a modern one that was just manufactured not too long ago, you're looking at $25 to $50 depending on what manufacturer makes it. If you're looking at an older one that's better made, if you get it off of eBay, you're looking at sometimes as cheap as $5 to $100 depending on the manufacturer. And again, that's probably the most complicated part on it, is the microscope stage translator. And then from that point on, it depends on the type of translator. If you have the basic translator, it's just a little bit of work into screwing and threading and making sure that it operates properly, and then machining the brackets. And the material cost on that is actually pretty minimal. So if you had your in-house machine shop make something like this, I don't know what their hourly rate is, but for probably under $500, you could get your in-house machine shop to make this without a problem. If you have access to machines, I mean, if it's just your time, then you're probably looking at just $100 in materials, and it's just your time, and you have to know how to do all the operations to make it. The side mount, which I believe I made one for Ruching that's very similar to one we saw earlier. That's actually not very expensive to make either. You can get those those types of manipulators off of like WPI or any other supply house that sells manipulators, and they range in price from about $1,000. And then you would need to basically just create a post and a block, a heavy enough block to hold it and to get it at the right distance from your manipulator, and then you can create that side mount. It's actually not that difficult to do. So yeah, you're looking at a considerable cost savings. Although the paper clip is definitely that's pretty clever and pretty cheap.
Reza, you have a question? Please go ahead.
Yeah, thank you, Michael. That was very inspiring, very nice. I was just wondering, in terms of building it onto the microtome itself, do you notice any vibration or problems? And that was one of the reasons I have it kind of on the side away from the microtome itself.
So I do not use microtomes. I'm not an ultramicrotomist. I don't do that type of work. I would like to do that work because I don't have a microtome at the moment. But Shannon, who I believe is on this talk, she would know better because she actually has used that particular one quite a bit. I've never heard any real complaints from anybody. When I was selling these directly through Zeiss, I've sold, I don't know how many, 15 to 20 of these through Zeiss, and I never heard any complaints back that things were vibrating or causing issues. But most of those were connected through, those were bolted to the front of the table, so they weren't mounted directly on. And I never heard anybody complain about the ones that mount directly onto the microtome. But that was one of my concerns when it was first developed, that there would be some types of vibrations. I don't know, Shannon, do you happen to have any issues using it?
I have not had issues with vibrations because it's just sitting on top of the microtome and it's bolted down. So as long as you're not resting a hand on it or touching it, I haven't had any problems with it. I haven't gone as thin as you have gone. I was doing more 100 nanometer thick sections or so. So I hadn't tried to go down to like 30, 40 nanometer thick sections. But my experience, I haven't had issues. We have more of an issue of vibrations because our microtome room abuts to a women's restroom, and every time someone flushes, it vibrates the whole room. So that's more of a problem for us.